I want to talk psyops.
Okay.
How easily we are sucked into particular narratives and why.
Well, let's talk about our brains first. Most people, they believe that they're going to know it when they see it. Those are the most suggestible people. I'm #1 behavior guy in the world, voted from some people and my mom.
Yeah, most importantly.
Teach the stuff for a living, and I'm terrified of it. That's how powerful it is. When it comes to psyops, you're not thinking about human brain. You want to control a mammal brain. And there's 4 things that take control, and it spells out the word fate: focus, authority, tribe, and emotion. If I use those 4 things, I can control a dog, I can train a dolphin, or I can control an entire population of human beings. Suggestibility is fluid. It is not a fixed trait. And here's the final scary part here. What you'll see also, especially in news, bad news, joke or good news, bad news, joke or good news, and right on this little high point, right as they start pulling you down, your brain has a lot of expectancy. Boom, commercial. Now you're more likely to buy product and more likely to give money to advertisers. This is the preschool level of this stuff. Everything revolves around PCP. If you just remember that, you're going to start seeing this everywhere. If I can modify your perception, like hypnosis, automatically I can shift your context. And if I can shift your context, then I can give you permission in your own head to do anything I want you to do. Perception, context, and permission. If you want to get good at spotting psyops,
I don't normally do this, like read a bit of like an intro, usually just kind of drop in. But like, I think in your case, I really want to give people just like kind of land them with just part of who you are. And we're going to get into so much stuff that I'm bummed we don't have all day, but you'll be back. Okay, so Chase Hughes is an expert in behavioral analysis and psychological operations, PsyOps. People have heard that a lot, hopefully, recently. With a unique background in the U.S. military and intelligence agencies, he has specialized in nonverbal communication, deception detection, and human behavior influence, working in high-stakes environments like interrogations, hostage negotiations, and counterterrorism. Chase developed the behavioral table of elements, a system used to predict and influence behavior, and has trained military personnel, law enforcement, and intelligence agencies. Beyond his work with the government, he applies these techniques to business, leadership, personal development, helping individuals like myself improve communication, persuasion, and decision-making. I mean, that's pretty good intro, right?
That's a very good intro.
I mean, that was like, I went in and I said, hey, like, these are some things, ChatGPT, like, give me something dynamite for this intro.
Wow.
It's so easy.
That's really good.
I didn't have to write that, because I'm not like you, we're going to jump into this right now. The temporal lobe epilepsy in this, you being a prolific writer.
Yeah.
Like I'm the opposite of that. What was it? Non-prolific writer?
Prolific? I don't know.
Yeah.
Those go together though. Epilepsy and writing.
How so?
There is a thing like if you have temporal lobe epilepsy, it kind of comes with a mandatory side dish of something called hypergraphia, where somebody will be compelled to write. And it's usually writing by hand. And all of my books, even the giant books that I've written, I write in pencil first, pencil and paper.
And is that just the flow of how it comes out and it's just, you can just go?
Yeah. And I can write anywhere. And if I use a pencil, I can write upside down. I can lay it sideways. You never have to worry about gravity, right? But there's a huge belief out there. A lot of scientists, a lot of neurologists believe that L. Ron Hubbard had temporal lobe epilepsy. And that's why that dude cranked out books.
Like no one's ever done, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just cranked out shit. Like he's pumping out these document after document, like governing documents of Scientology and these alien books and stuff that he's writing. He never stopped writing until he died. And it's very much believed that he had temporal lobe epilepsy. And other people like Picasso, Van Gogh, and a lot of the writers from back in the day, Hemingway was rumored to have temporal lobe epilepsy. It's a terrifying disease, though.
Yeah, so I want to get into that. Before we do, there has to be, I'm just trying to piece it together because the stuff that you're writing, I haven't read really any of L. Ron Hubbard's, but like you have to have some certain level of competency, intelligence, whatever you want to call it, or do you not have to? You could be writing just bullshit. You just need to write. Like how does that work? Have you met people that maybe don't put out these beautiful, kind of tomes?
Yeah, I met a guy with temporal lobe epilepsy once in a support group. And he was not schizophrenic, but if you read his notebook, it looks like wild schizophrenia just exploded on this page, like alien spacecrafts, then then like drawing a line somehow mentally to vitamin K and how vitamin K is related to Antarctica and there's lasers coming out. Like there's no way to follow it.
So it's like this morning papers, you heard of that kind of practice of just kind of writing whatever comes to mind?
Yeah. So I think a lot of temporal lobe epileptics will do that. And it's specific to the temporal lobe epilepsy instead of the normal epilepsy that people are really familiar with, like somebody shaking on the floor during a seizure.
When did you discover that you had this?
I had seizures for 2 straight years. So with the temporal lobe seizure, you're just kind of like that.
Kind of head to the side, just kind of out of it.
You lose all muscle control, everything, and you're drooling. And it lasts about a minute and a half. So
you can't say a word. You
can't ask for help, nothing. And that comes with a side of amnesia. Every time you have a seizure, it really screws up your memory. And so my family had seen me going into these little episodes for a while, and they knew I was at the time about to finish a postgraduate certification in neuroscience and neuroendocrinology. So they figured, if Chase is having a seizure, he's going to know. He'll go to the doctor if something is wrong. Yeah. So I never did go to the doctor. So they're like, oh yeah, it must be fine. I didn't know I was having the seizure until it was recorded on a video, just shooting for our YouTube channel called The Behavior Panel, where it's me and 3 other behavior profilers. And I got a seizure recorded and I watched it back on camera and I said, I have temporal lobe epilepsy. That second, I was able to diagnose that. It was clear as day. So I went and saw a neurologist, and the prescription that I was offered, the number one side effect was seizures. It's unbelievable. Like, it's unbelievable that exists. It's 2024 at the time, and that exists. And so I thought, I'm obviously not going to do this. I threw the pills in the trash and went to go see a couple of specialists. And I'm very lucky. Dr. Phil's a good friend of mine. Mm-hmm. And he sent me to one of his friends, who's Dr. Brad Jabbour, to go get brain scans and all this stuff. So I got so much help. And I finally found one of our mutual friends, Dr. John Laurence.
Love him, yeah.
And that was it. I started taking methylene blue and kind of combining that with a couple other supplements like extremely high dose melatonin, 200 milligrams of melatonin, and then a microdosing every few days of psilocybin. Mm-hmm. And it sucked because, you're traveling, you have to go to a place where this is legal, obviously, mm-hmm. but within 4 hours, I had stopped having seizures, and I have not had one seizure since. And I was at a point of having 8 to 9 seizures a day. And when I dropped my wife off at labor and delivery, parked the car, went back in there, I had no idea who she was. I didn't know who my wife was. And I was walking her in, and I knew, just from this happening so much over the last 2 years, I knew, like, I'm just going to pretend as long as I can. Obviously, she's a friend. She's a family member.
Oh my God.
I'm just going to pretend. I took selfies with her walking into labor and delivery, giving birth to our daughter. And I didn't know who she was. So 15, 25 minutes go by, bam, everything comes back. I'm like, oh my God, that's my wife. That's my child about to be born. So that was the biggest. And my daughter's 14 months old now. So this was pretty recently. I was going downhill like at 1,000 miles an hour, as fast as you can go downhill. And I think I've reversed everything that's gone on in my brain, and I have completely stopped all of the temporal lobe epilepsy symptoms.
Okay, so that sounds terrifying. Like, and I've heard you talk before. You kind of don't know what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
Like,
So like
what's
one
that
seizure,
experience?
it's like maybe it's just a bunch of weird crap in your brain. Maybe it's some kind of past lives that are coming in. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more certain somebody is that they've got shit figured out, the more suspicious I am.
So I'm right there with you. We don't know a fucking thing.
We know nothing.
No. We know our own experience, and even that is called into question.
Yeah, it is. And I was talking to somebody yesterday who thought maybe the earth was flat. And I said, well, the question you might need to ask first is the earth real? Like, is it even real? But during a seizure,
that's a whole other podcast, by the way. And I had the same similar conversation with someone because, like your friend, I am a globe skeptic. Just not, really? Yeah, I'm not sure. The math doesn't seem to add up. And I was sharing this with a friend who, I said, like, kind of, where do you sit with this? He's like, I think that both could be real. It's just like, what do you like? Not just like, what do you believe, but like, what do you like? What is the collective? What, like it, to your point, what are we even talking about? Like we think we know. And now I see where that ties into the more certain I am that it's one or the other. Like, I really don't know. Like, can I just be like super curious and allow for all possibilities?
Yeah. And I think too often these people that are experts don't really realize that I don't know is sometimes the most intellectually superior answer that you can give than just saying, we have no clue. Like, haven't gotten anything figured out. We know 1%, maybe less, about the human brain that there is to figure out. We don't even know where memories are stored after all this time.
Wow.
So, and speaking of memories, to go back to your question, like a temporal lobe seizure is like a minute, 90 seconds. And during this temporal lobe seizure, I am almost like channel surfing through lives that I'm in, not in this body, for most of them. And just filing through all of these memories. So in that 1.5 minutes, I have what I would estimate to be about 3 years of memories that have just got jammed into my brain. 3 years. So the moment I come out of one seizure, it takes me 2 to 3 weeks to figure out what's real and which part of my life is real. I spent 2 weeks one time. I have a Belgian Malinois dog that I thought was fake. I thought my dog was fake. So you don't know. All of those memories are in the same file cabinets during the seizure as your normal life. So it's like someone went down there and put fake memories all throughout every memory file. And it takes weeks to go through and just like you stop for a second and be like, wait, was I on a cruise ship 3 weeks ago? No, I didn't do that. So like there's these weird things that just keep coming up, and it's suffocating because you'll be in a conversation with somebody that's talking about bills and you're wondering like, did I actually jump out of a plane yesterday? Like these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of memories that you're trying to compete with while somebody else is like, hey, we need to go to the grocery store later. And I'm like wrestling with reality, trying to hide it, trying to pretend like everything's cool. It's such a weird disease.
So there's like part of it that it's like, there's like almost like a psychedelic component to it.
Very much.
Except that like on that, well, I would even argue actually on that psychedelic journey, like ayahuasca, that the experience I had over a couple of nights was, I didn't know what was real. I thought like I had been brought to that place and the people I was never going to see them again. Like I was in this loop, and it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever experienced. And It's what I needed to experience to be able to have a different experience the next night. And so it's similar in that regard, except that that's a choice in some ways that I made to, to drink the tea. Although in the experience, I forgot that I even made that choice. I didn't even know like I was a thing. It was very, just like almost like I was in CGI land and in some sort of other codes, which again, we don't need to get into that. Like I want to stay here with you.
Have you seen the DMT experiment with the laser?
I have seen it on Instagram and I heard you and Danny talking about it. So you've done it.
Yeah, I saw it on Instagram and flew Danny to my house right away.
Like break this down for people because it got shared amongst my group and it's like, what the fuck?
Exactly. And that's the only question you're still going to have after you see it. Like, but
it doesn't answer any questions. It just invites a lot more.
Yeah, nothing else. And it's funny that the people who haven't done it yet are the most certain about what it is. That have no idea what they're talking about. They've never seen it, but they know. I'll explain this to you. Let me explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me educate you.
Yes. Perfect.
Oh, and I've got an idea for you too. Let me teach you how to do it differently. They've never done it. So I flew Danny out and there's code. Absolutely. There is code. And if you have 3 people there, they're all seeing the same letters.
No shit.
So they can all write it down.
No shit.
So
the code's not like spinning there. It's like, it's literally like kind of written out static.
It's static. So where the laser is, it's kind of like shining a flashlight. Okay.
So let's just break it down for people. How to set up the environment for people. So you get DMT.
You're in a DMT wherever it's legal to do. And there's like a diffused laser on the wall. And the laser is like maybe that thick.
So
like
inch and a half.
Inch and a half, yeah. And if I shine the laser on the wall, it's like if you imagine this room being pitch dark right now. You can't see your hand in front of your face, right? And I have a tiny flashlight and this wall behind us is covered in little letters. As I move that flashlight up, you're going to see different letters.
Oh.
As I move it down, you're going to see the letters below it. So you can I can move the laser up and down and see all of the letters, but it's like 3-dimensional. So I can get close to the wall. I can look down inside of the laser that way, and I can look up in the laser that way.
Yep. And then
it's like, I would say it's 4 inches behind the wall is where the numbers are, the characters. It's not on the flat wall.
It's not
behind.
So you can see through the wall, so to speak.
You can kind of look down up inside of the wall.
Yeah, because I noticed, like their heads were moving around. What's your best guess at explaining that?
I would be a fool.
Okay. We can just leave it at that.
Maybe it's a universal consciousness that we're projecting something on to it. But if you look at every near-death experience, and we're going off the deep end here on our topics, but
yeah, I'm going to add something to it when you're done.
If you look at every near-death experience, this is a simulation.
Can you explain that for people? So like your idea of what a simulation is.
Yeah. We don't know if it's digital. We don't know if it's physical. We don't know if it's spiritual, quantum, whatever. Who knows? But like if you just listen to everybody that's ever had like a near-death experience, there's another level. Almost like they volunteered to play Avatar or some kind of video game, and we become a ghost somewhere, and this ghost decides to ride around in a meat suit for a little while. Mm-hmm. And it's like 99% of them are saying that. So maybe this is some creation that we made in some other realm or something like that. That's what it felt like to me when I was doing it. And please remember, for everybody listening, I am grossly unqualified to say I've got this shit figured out.
So, you're not saying that at all. Yeah. again, back with, I would say more so with my ayahuasca experience than maybe some mushroom journeys. Like I had that sense of not quite being in a meat suit, but being in some, I was in some digital realm. The room was pitch black. And I looked down at like I was sitting up, I was looking down at my kind of lap and my hands in my arms. I could see clear as day, but they were almost like an avatar type thing. It was like, how the fuck can it's pitch black in here. And I put them in front of my face and I could see them. And it was another reminder that I have access to so little of what this space is.
Yeah.
What I was going to add, just to like throw another thing on there that I'm not going to complete, but I'll just leave people with this, is I had spent some time with a close friend yesterday who's been on a journey throughout the world of going to these different sacred sites and these different nodes of the earth. And he saw a healer. We've all heard that term healer. Like this is like an OG healer. And I'll just, for the sake of like, I'll be very vague about where, but this healer took him to this cave. And in this cave are these hermits.
Physically or in a
literally in a cave.
Okay.
They went to a cave. Yes, great question. Physical spot. And there are the largest collection of hermits, people that are hermits. And they are holding down the energy of the earth. Each of them holds something different down. If you have an illness, you see this hermit. If you want financial abundance, you see this hermit. If you, whatever is needed, if you want to connect to your higher self and bridge that gap of what your ego and what your soul and like live there, like you see this hermit. It's just the most fascinating, like just that alone. And these guys are breatharians. They don't eat. They are there until they ascend. Like they are just in there on their breath. It's a thing.
I need to go to this place.
Yes, we do. We do. Yes, we do. It blew my mind. And he said he collects water, my friend does. And he asked the healer if he could collect some water from this cave. He said, yeah, absolutely. So they get there and there's barely any water because it hadn't rained. And, it comes down through the cave, but they hadn't had rain. And so he's like, can I take some water now? Because there's basically enough for his vial. He said, no, we need to do a blessing first with the water. And so they do, and he's thinking, that's going to use all the water up. So they do the blessing and do the thing. And he says, give me your vial. He goes down, he puts the vial down where the water was, and he gives him the vial and it's filled with water.
Wow.
He goes to his hermit, says, he's going, I forget exactly what he was going for, and we'll just leave it at that. But he grabs the offering were a bunch of flower petals. He grabs them, holds them to his chest, says his prayer, does his thing. In his hand is a crystal, just materialized from flowers.
Wow.
So to your point, we don't know what, there's those people, those healers, they're the ones who can see beyond like this matrix world that we're very much conditioned to. So,
and you know what I think? If you could take a human being and show them everything, show them the reality of the world, what it's made of, that what was before the Big Bang, where we come from, all the spirit world, all of that, and then brought them back to Earth, they can't explain it. Our language is not capable of communicating that. Even if they knew the truth, you just can't say it. Like our language isn't made for that.
Yeah, I think that's well said. That's it. Like it's what people talk about, right? In the medicine ceremony, it's ineffable. Unless you've been in that space, then we can kind of get there together.
Yeah.
But if you've never been in that space, I've got no chance of describing what I experienced.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
That's the only way we can really connect on it. If we both visited some other realm.
Yeah.
We can't talk. I can't describe it
No.
to anybody. It's so
No.
true. We need to go to that.
We will.
That cave.
Yeah.
We need to make a video of going to this cave.
Yeah.
I need to do this.
Yes. Okay. I want to talk psyops
Okay.
because it's been in the zeitgeist currently.
Yeah.
And I wasn't familiar with it up until a couple of years ago, even. And I think for a lot of people, it's even been since the fall with like everybody talking, Sean Ryan's done a lot of work with this psyops and whatnot. And so you have a unique connection to the psyop world. And so I'm so curious about just unpacking this in a way that people can kind of wrap their head around how easily we are sucked into particular narratives and why, and who's doing it, why are they doing it? Is it all malevolent? Is some of it benevolent? The whole kit and caboodle.
Well, let's talk about our brains first. So most people live their life as though they have some kind of firewall or antivirus system in their own brain. And they believe that they're maybe not fully immune, but they believe that they're going to know it when they see it. I'm going to know psyops when I see it. I'm going to know that manipulation when I see it. And those are the most suggestible people. They're the easiest to manipulate. So like if you go out to Best Buy today and you picked up a new Windows computer, and I was like, hey man, you should download that McAfee antivirus program. You're like, nah, I don't believe in viruses, bro. That's the same thing with our brain. We're not alert to it because we believe that we're immune. So it's a fallacy that like I have a 60-second screen time limit on social media. I'm number one behavior guy in the world, voted from some people, and my mom also says that.
Yeah, most importantly.
Yeah. And I'm terrified. I teach this stuff for a living and I'm terrified of it. That's how powerful it is. The human brain versus a $1 trillion computer, you're not going to win. And the number one thing that I could say to kick off this psyops thing is technology has outpaced the human brain's ability to adapt to it.
And it continues to go logarithmically, right?
Yeah. And our brains have not changed in 200,000 years. So we are at this level where it is an unbelievable, and I'm not just talking about social media, I'm talking about all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we're at this modern time where the human brain can be hacked so easily. I teach brain hacking. That's kind of what I do. From sales teams to psyops, it's the same thing. It's just a human brain. So psyops really gets its start.
By the way, I know you realize this, but I don't know if everybody realizes how much of a mind fuck it is that you said that if you think you can spot a psyop, like you are the most suggestible, like all of those people, myself included, are like, oh, that's a fucking psyop. Like it's like, oh, it's such a, that just put me into a pretzel.
What
like,
I'm saying,
holy fuck.
No. I think you are able to spot them. But when you hear a person that says I can't be persuaded, I can't be influenced.
Oh, okay.
I'm immune to that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not immune to it. Okay.
That's where it gets dangerous.
Got it.
And like the guy, like, bro, I don't believe in computer viruses.
Yeah.
I won't get infected.
Yeah.
So when it comes to psyops, you want to control a mammal brain. You're not thinking about human brain here. The mammalian brain makes all of your choices, all of your decisions. And it is absolutely in charge. So like if somebody says, well, no, the human brain's bigger, the neocortex is way bigger. Well, go ahead and hold your breath until you die. You can't. You can't will your way out of this mammalian part of our brain taking over. And this is our limbic system, the emotional regulatory part of our brain, going back into the brainstem. And the if you just think of it as how do I take control of a dog? It's the same thing that take control of a human. Same thing for a horse or an animal, any mammal. And there's 4 things that take control of the mammalian part of the human brain. And it spells out the word fate, F-A-T-E, according to me anyway. And that's focus, authority, tribe, and emotion. If I use those 4 things, I can control a dog. I can train a dolphin. I could teach a killer whale at SeaWorld to jump through a hoop or whatever. Or I can control an entire population of human beings or one human. If I just gain control of focus, trigger their an ancestral response to authority, trigger their thinking that the tribe is all doing the same thing that they are, and this is the expected response of a tribe, and then trigger an emotional reaction. And I'm done. You have full control of a human being. So a lot of what PSYOPs are designed to do, most people talk about PSYOPs, but I think brainwashing falls into this. Influence and persuasion are also part of this that are outside of the PSYOP. So PSYOPs typically have an aim of getting a population to become more suggestible and destroying apathy, or I'm sorry, instilling apathy and destroying outrage. So high apathy, very low outrage. So if I can show you things all day long that make you upset, that make you pissed off, soon enough, you're going to be like, I can't do this anymore. You know, like, here's another thing that's pissing me off. No, I'm not. I'm just going to flip to the next video.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an engineered destruction of outrage, and it's an engineered installation of apathy. That's step 1. Then the next step is called PDS, and that is pacify, distract, and sedate, in that order. So this is to where I'm going to engineer a culture of loneliness and then offer up all kinds of anesthetic.
Jeez. We've never seen that happen.
Right. Yeah.
Fuck.
So here's one thing that I would tell my kids growing up. And that is, if a product doesn't tell you the problem that they're trying to solve, you need to be terrified. Terrified.
Give me an example.
Facebook, Instagram. Even more than that, look at the VR goggles that all these companies have right now. Where do they tell you the problem they're solving? You look at Amazon, there's like, we're going to get shit to you faster. We're going to get it to your house. We're going to get it overnight. Returns are really easy. You want that shirt? I'll have it to you tomorrow. All of the problems are very clear and delineated of what they're solving.
Yeah.
You go look at Apple Vision Pro. You go look at this Facebook goggles and try to find where they tell you what problem they're solving. They don't, because it's loneliness.
Wow.
And it's becoming an anesthetic for dissatisfaction with life. So that's step 1. That's pacify.
Okay.
Step 2, distract. So with distraction, we're going to engineer and you always want to pay attention to timing. Is there a politician getting something revealed that needs to happen? Or is there an election coming up? Or is there a transition of power happening? And the distractions could be gas leaks at a factory somewhere, a train crashing and shooting smoke up into the air, just hypothetically.
Yeah.
Or maybe a helicopter running into a plane, hypothetically. And I'm not saying any of that's engineered. Maybe those are accidents.
Mm-hmm.
But the timing and context make it very suspicious, because there's other things going on, the drones in New Jersey and all of this other stuff. So anytime you see anything that looks like it might be a distraction, look at the timing. Like, what's going on page 4 of the news, not just the front page, but what's on page 4?
Because they're going to, assuming they report whatever it is, they will bury that stuff.
Yeah. And then sedate is the final one. So the sedation agenda becomes overloading and overflowing everybody with information, and then using this tool that they actually invented for hypnosis, for clinical hypnosis, called fractionation. And fractionation is where I take your emotions way up, then I pull your emotions down. I take you in a high state of emotion and then down again. And every time I bring you down, you get more suggestible. So you can think of this in terms of, if you look over the last year, our society had these little high points and low, high and low. And every low gets a little bit lower than the last low. We become more suggestible and more suggestible and more compliant. And this has been demonstrated in study after study after study. That the more compliant we are, we will just blindly follow a tribe. We will ignore facts. We will agree to things that are absolutely stupid because we've become, it's engineered suggestibility is what it is. So with the sedate system, I'm kind of losing track of what I'm talking about here, but we're constantly bombarding this emotional regulation. So in hypnosis, I would put you into a trance and then wake you up, just very briefly. So I might say, in a moment, I'll count from 1 to 5. Your awareness of the room is coming back. You're more aware of the sound of my voice. You're finally back in this chair here, just aware of the weight of your body, waking up just enough to open your eyes. Now open your eyes. Great. And sleep all the way down, back again. So like we'll do this little up and down, partially wake you up. And then every time you go into hypnosis again, you're going way deeper.
Oh,
which means
it's super effective when you're trying to help someone.
Yes, very effective.
Yeah.
So 2 things are happening in that state. Number 1, your brain is going into the theta wave state. So it's around maybe 4 to 7 hertz of neural oscillations, or what they call brain waves outside of neuroscience. And the second thing that's happening is your brain, every time you're kind of going down into like that hypnotic state and you're actually using real hypnosis, the brain is flooded with this neurotransmitter called GABA. And GABA stands for gamma aminobutyric acid. And it is the brain's number 1 inhibitory neurotransmitter. It's like the resident assistant in college that's walking around telling everybody to turn the music down. So it's like calming everything in the brain. So GABA is our safety chemical. It makes us feel safe. So that's basically what all hypnosis is theta brainwave state, increased levels of GABA. And if you want to get super scientific, there's something called homovanillic acid that we also see a spike in, but that's only if you suck some cerebrospinal fluid out during a lumbar puncture and measure that. But those things are happening in a clinical hypnosis setting, but they're happening in mass. They're happening to populations on a mass scale. And it is clear as day that it's being done. What's being obfuscated is the end result, the desired goal of these people and what they want to do with everything.
Are they doing some of this, let's call it hypnosis through the news? Like when I see, I would say, my friends that still watch the news, there aren't many of them, but they are the most suggestible. Like they're not paying attention to any of the signs that are out there, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you watch the news again, you'll hear, let's just take a talk show, for example. And any talk show would apply. I'm just using this as an example. Let's take John Oliver.
Mm-hmm.
Last Week Tonight, I think is the name of the show. There will be a strange fact that is very hard to back up or has a lot of stuff where you could argue against it. Really weird, bizarre fact or something said to make you feel like you hate someone or someone's stupid, someone did something bad. And before you can logically process it, there's a joke immediately. And to get you to not process that fact, now you're hearing the entire audience laugh. So that's triggering your tribal response of, oh, that line was funny because there's 150 people laughing. So it's triggering this animal response in our brain to automatically accept this information.
Oh,
and
yes.
That's just one example. I could go through a whole show and show you 100 other hypnotic techniques and brain hacking techniques that are being used in all these shows.
And so these writers understand this kind of playbook, or like how, like, what would your best guess be around that? Because that is clear as day. Like it doesn't matter if I agree with what they're saying or not. Like that is the formula. I get it.
Yeah. So it's controversial statement, misdirection, tribal involvement.
Ugh.
So it's sometimes the misdirection is a joke. Sometimes like there's something crazy that happens, like they throw a water balloon or something right after one of these things that I don't want you to critically think about. And that's the number one thing. So the number one
then that
goal,
information is just lodged in your head and it's like becomes more or less fact?
Yeah. So that's why hypnosis works, though. So the number one goal of hypnosis is to bypass the brain's critical factor. So that's what I'm really doing. So like you'll hear, very commonly, you'll hear hypnotists say stuff like, and as you listen to this voice, your conscious mind might just wander around all on its own. And the part of you that really needs to hear what we're going to do today can stay with me, while your conscious mind can drift and think of anything that it wants to think about. So it's bypassing this little critical part of our brain that's made for saying, is this information good for me? Is it accurate? Should I do this? So that's what hypnosis is. And that's exactly what's happening in all of these news channels, TV shows, all of that.
How did you pick up on this?
I've been studying hypnosis for 26 years. And I had, for 4 years straight, I had the number one best-selling book in the world in hypnotherapy. So,
and what's the name of that book?
The Ellipsis Manual.
And we're linked to all your publications here too. So
what you'll see also, especially in news, is bad news, joke or good news, bad news, joke or good news, and right on this little high point, boom, you're a little more suggestible, but you're ready to kind of go down, and they'll pull you down. And right as they start pulling you down, your brain has a lot of expectancy because you know you're kind of going down that roller coaster. Commercial. Now you're more likely to buy products. You're more likely to spend money. You're more likely to give money to advertisers.
So fascinating.
This is the preschool level of this stuff. It goes so deep, dude. Oh my God. But at the end of the day, I could give you, and I guarantee you this, I could give you 3 hours of training and you would be able to manufacture a Manchurian Candidate.
No fucking way.
I could train you just for 3 hours and you could do it. It's not hard. You find somebody that's suggestible, or you make a person suggestible. So one thing people need to realize is suggestibility is fluid. It is not a fixed trait. It's not like this guy's this and this person's this. It's fluid.
So you can train a blank slate to be suggestible, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And here's the final scary part here. Let's say you always hear hypnotists say, oh, you can't be made to do something that's against your will or something that you wouldn't normally do. You can't do that. That's not true at all. Let's say I'm a creepy hypnotist and I want you to get naked here in my office. Normally, we're in my office. You're not going to get naked because you have rules about that, right? Mm-hmm. We have these little social constructs, these folkways, or what they're called in clinical psychology. So when are you going to get naked within the next 24 hours? Yeah, probably going to get into a shower or something like that. So all I put you under hypnosis and say, you just got home from a nice long drive. You throw your keys in the bowl, turn on the nice hot water. The shower's ready for you. And now you're getting in the shower. So how did I manipulate you? I changed context. If I can manipulate the way that you see the context that you're in, I can make you do anything. So if I want to create a mass shooter, I want to create a Manchurian Candidate, there is a context where if I'm fighting off zombies, I shoot everyone in the room. If I think everybody's a zombie. If I believe that someone who's holding a can of beer, that can of beer is actually a hand grenade, that's a context where you might shoot someone.
Yeah.
So all a person has to do is shift context. But now we just talked about this on a one-on-one level. Think of it as a population. If I can get that population to start seeing a different context, I can get them to start taking more violent action. I can get them to protest. I can get them to riot just because I modified the way that they see this situation, the context. That's the most scary part. If you want to get good at spotting psyops, you get really good at saying, I can see that someone is shifting the context here and making me view something differently. And if I can go on one more tangent, it's like 40 seconds long.
No, you get the floor.
Everything revolves around PCP. If you just remember that, you're going to start seeing this everywhere. If I can modify your perception, the way you see something, like hypnosis. I can make you perceive that you're doing something different. Then I can shift your context. And if I can shift your context, then I can give you permission in your own head to do anything I want you to do. Perception, context, and permission.
So this is where, in the past, would someone like Sirhan fall into this category?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I did a documentary on my YouTube channel about Sirhan.
Okay.
I even drove to the prison to interview Sirhan, and he was unavailable somehow for my interview.
Can you give people just like a little kind of snapshot of that?
Of who he is, a little bit.
Who he is, yeah.
Yeah. So Sirhan was a Palestinian national who allegedly or was charged with and convicted of the murder of Senator Bobby Kennedy. And this happened in a hotel kitchen in San Francisco. And to this day, he says he has no memory of the event. He doesn't remember pulling out a gun. And he was 7 feet in front of Kennedy, like pointing the gun directly at him. And Kennedy's gunshot wounds that killed him were one in the back of the head that went up through his head and one like kind of in the armpit from behind. And this, it's open. This is not some theory. This is just in the documentation. So I believe that someone named Dr. Joylyn West.
Oh, yeah, Jolly.
Was involved with maybe training the guy who maybe made him do this, but I think that he was made to do this. And I think there was a person with training that was influencing him to be at that hotel and to be there with a gun. But I think Sirhan is innocent.
Yeah.
But here's the true talent is not in hypnosis, because I could teach you severe, extreme techniques in like one day. You and I spent one day together. I could make you extremely dangerous. But the true danger is in that operator, let's call him an operative, their ability to pick the perfect target.
Okay.
So is he Palestinian? Is there a reason that he would be hateful? Does he have some kind of deep-seated anger and resentment toward them? Are they highly suggestible to begin with? Are they very susceptible to hypnosis? Like, that's the perfect target. Everything's perfect. So it's a lot easier than you think. And if you look at the Milgram experiment, are you familiar with the Milgram?
I know the name. I'm sure I'll remember as you share it. I'm sure it's one of these rabbit holes I've been in over the last few months. It's come across my desk.
It's Yale University, 1962, Dr. Stanley Milgram. They do a study on whether or not the Nuremberg trials are kind of going on.
Mm-hmm.
And these Nazis are saying, like, I was just following orders. So he's like, his parents were Jewish.
Oh, dude. Yes, I do remember this.
So he's like, can we get somebody to just follow orders?
Yes.
So in a nutshell, for anybody that doesn't know, this experiment involves one volunteer and 2 actors. Volunteer shows up and they say, hey, we're doing a study. You're going to read this stuff to this guy right here. We're going to strap him to a machine. And every time he gets a question wrong, you're going to zap his ass. And every time he gets the next one wrong, you're going to increase the voltage. All the way to the machine goes 450 volts, danger, extreme shock is what it said on the machine. So these doctors, before the experiment started, they're like forming, just like the scientific method. What's the hypothesis? They said 0.8% of people are going to go through with this. You have to be a psychopath to kill someone. Obviously, the guy in the other room's not getting shocked. He's an actor. But throughout this thing, he's screaming, and you can hear him through the drywall in the experiment. He's saying, banging on the wall, saying, I want to get out of here. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to stop. I want to stop this. And the volunteers sitting there thinking that they're shocking him. They turn around to this guy in a lab coat, and the guy in the lab coat says, please continue. The experiment requires that you continue. I'm responsible. Please continue. So just little phrases like that. So here's the weird part that no one ever talks about. Number one, 67% of people, and these are just random people, they've done the study multiple times. It wasn't just this one thing. 67% went all the way to 450. And here's the weird part. At like 350 volts, the guy in the other room stops answering questions, stops making sound altogether. Like he's dead. And they turn around to the guy in the lab coat, like, what am I going to do? Do I keep going? Guy in the lab coat says, any non-answer must be treated as an incorrect answer. Please continue. 67% of people murdered a stranger in under an hour. 67%. And 250 volts is enough to kill you. Guess how many percent went to 250? 100.
Oh my God.
100%. And everybody's always thinking about like, what's the influence tactic here? What's the thing script? What do I say? What's the sales script and all this other stuff? There was no hypnosis. There's no manipulation. There's no secret technique to touch them on the shoulder and they become a killer. There's no secret language sales script to get them to be hyper obedient. None of that. It was just taking over the mammalian brain. That's the only thing that happened. And if you know the skills to be able to spot that, you make yourself more and more immune to manipulation. But then again, if you know how to harness that and then target someone's mammalian brain, you can literally get them to do anything. Because I teach sales teams and they're like, oh yeah, but our clients are resistant. I'm like, can you go talk they're like selling a car or a solar panel. Like, you think talking someone into murder? And that's you like the car is hard. So if 45 minutes you get 100% of people to shock somebody at 250 volts. Selling a car is not hard. It's all about the mammalian part of our brain.
Wow. The
hypnosis would just be a bonus on top.
I would say, do you have any thoughts? And you can say no. Absolutely, feel free to say no. But on the shooter at the Trump rally,
I'm suspicious. I'll just say that.
Okay,
I'm very suspicious.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. I want to know about your retreats.
I've never done one of these retreats before. And one thing that I noticed when I got out of the military, I thought it was cool. Like I've never been rude to anybody, no matter if I'm talking to detainees or prisoners. Never once in my life have I been rude. I've punched people, cuffed them after they've got violent. Never been rude. And I get out of the military and like my marketing shtick, I guess, was let me teach you mind control and all of this stuff. And which is still what I teach today. Like I teach people literal brainwashing, mind control tricks, how to use brainwashing on yourself and behavior profiling, how to read body language and deception and all this stuff. I've got ranked the #1 body language expert in the world. And what I've noticed is like when I get a person to really learn it at a deep level, it injects a tremendous amount of empathy into people. But that was never, you can't put that on the advertising page. You know what I mean? Let me give you some empathy.
Become a big old softy.
Yeah. And then you get good at influencing and you start seeing yourself in everyone else. And like the empathy comes first and then the influence part comes. And I think it's important to teach this to good people. And what I've noticed is that what I'm really doing over these years in this, like I have a VIP coaching group that I teach every week. And these are the people I teach very extreme techniques to that I'm maybe a little scared to share with the public. And they're all good people. But over time, what I'm teaching people is like who you are matters. Like everybody spends like all this money on sales scripts. Like if I had a $10 million sales script, it took me 50 years to put it together. It's the most beautiful thing ever. It's like the golden ticket sales script. Works every time, right? And I give it to somebody with social anxiety and say, go use this script. It doesn't matter. The technique doesn't matter. It's the person using it. Do I have confidence? Do I have authority to use those things? Just like the guy in the lab coat in the Milgram experiment, the lab coat was our sociological representation of an authority figure.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, I wanted to help people get out of their ego. And because when I started like my first psychedelic journey, I didn't realize how much I was in ego. And I was embarrassed.
What called you to take that journey?
Epilepsy.
Okay.
So I did like a 5-gram journey was my first experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I was embarrassed at like my past self for how I was just wrapped in ego. And like, I need to be important and I need people to see me as important and all this stuff. And I wanted just unzipping your ego costume, not even jumping out of it, just like kind of pulling that zipper down a little bit and letting some air in there. It feels so good. It's like first time I'm experiencing some level of truth, like real beautiful truth. So I am a global recognized expert in psyops and brainwashing. And I thought like, what if I used psychedelics, every single one of the techniques that I teach, to brainwash someone and permanently change them in a good way. No crazy waterboarding stuff. But what if I could permanently change a person over the course of a 4-day retreat to like escape out of their ego and live outside their ego? So I want other people to experience like this profound level of truth. Not that I've got everything figured out. I do these events for me too. I go through the whole thing with everybody.
Yeah.
But our first event is here in a couple months, and it is 4 days. We're doing every single technique known to man, from a metaphysical side, from a brainwashing side, from a behavioral engineering side, neuroscience side, to balance out neurotransmitters, to balance out vitamin levels in their bodies, everything you could possibly think of to help a person get out of their ego permanently. Not like you leave the event and say, oh, that was great. I can't wait to go back to the next one. I don't want people to come back.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a fun event.
I think so too. And you said that's going to be in late May.
Late May in Mexico.
Yep.
I wish I could sell tickets, but I don't think there are any left. Maybe there's 2 tickets left or something.
We'll put a link to it, but I'm sure they'll be sold out. But we'll certainly stay tuned for the next, when the Austin events, whenever that gets booked.
Yeah. And the events, all the retreats will be called Exit. It's called Exit. Exit.
Okay. You've been working with psychedelics a bit though, since that experience. What have you seen as the benefits with that and with brain training? What was the aha moment for you, as you were doing all this work leading up to that, you had the experience and it's just like these things just go together. I mean, besides having your own experience, like architecting this whole experience.
Yeah. It is. I genuinely, in my soul, I believe it is going to be one of a kind. I don't think there's anything that's ever been done like this in the history of the world, using all of these techniques like just layered on top of each other. But I see one-on-one clients and to take them through like these transformational things. And for some of these clients, I create a Manchurian Candidate in them, like an alter ego that they can turn on and turn off. The difference is that they get to pick what it is, like their level of confidence and all this other settings that they get to change. But during some of these experiences with these celebrities and athletes and some of MMA fighters that I've worked with, I needed to get them out of their ego first because I needed a clean slate to work with. So I have been testing out this method after method after method. And it's beautiful, man, to see like somebody make this transition and realize like now is when your life starts. Like this is when living like the true life really starts. Not that I'm enlightened or anything. I still have an ego. I think we all still have ego.
Absolutely.
We just need to get to a point where I can kind of flip a switch and realize how to suppress it or how to crawl out of that costume. Not just all day, every day, but at the exact moment that I feel like doing it. Whenever I want to, I can unzip that whole costume and get out of it.
What would an alter ego, like this self kind of Manchurian Candidate, look like for someone as an example?
I worked with Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah.
And he trains a lot of fighters. I had one of his fighters. I don't know if he's comfortable with me saying his name, so I won't. One of his fighters was going up for this big prize fight. And Roy calls me like 2 days, 3 days before this fight. And he's like, hey man, can you make a Manchurian Candidate that doesn't run out of breath and doesn't feel pain and like doesn't get they say gassed out. Like
yeah.
Just out of breath in a fight. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. I had no idea.
Oh, I was like, Jesus.
Whether or not I could do it. I didn't know, but I'm like, yeah, I think you can kind of do anything with this system that I've developed. And he's like, all right, I'm going to fly you to Vegas. And I worked with this guy for a day and a half. And this usually takes me 4 days. So I'm really nervous because.
Oh, you only have a day and a half with him. You're saying, got it. Okay.
With the fighter.
Yeah.
So it's massive amount of hypnosis, a lot of other neuroscience modifications that we're doing with him. And I went to the fight. I got to watch the fight, and I got to watch him in the back room, whatever they call it, like the green room where they're kind of warming up and stuff and kind of re-hypnotize him and get him ready. He walks in, the fight's on YouTube. But he walks out there and he's fighting this guy who's like undefeated, bigger than him, way, way better fighter. And he wins. Like, he wins the fight. But he goes back, and when he sits in his corner, like during all the breaks, his chest isn't rising and falling. He has no expression on his face. He's getting punched in the face and nothing is changing on his face throughout the entire fight. And the announcers even say it in the video. They've never seen anything like that before. He's not gassed out. He's not feeling any of that pain. And essentially, I made a little temporary psychopath that he can turn on and off. And just in case, I gave the off switch secrets to his manager and his corner man and his wife.
Nice. Good thinking.
Here's the best part of the story. The night before the fight, they go to do that thing where they're taking pictures with their
like the ceremonial weigh-in or whatever. Yeah.
And they're like in each other's face and stuff. I call it a machine, like the machine that I built in his head.
Yeah.
His machine, he didn't do the thing that I told him to do to turn the machine on, but the machine turned on by itself when that opponent got in there. And he just did this, like he's looking at this guy, like that's the guy right there.
Yeah.
And he looks over at his wife, just one glance. She picks their children up and moves to a different hotel. She said, that is not my husband. She knew like instantly, just one little piece of eye contact. And she went to stay in another hotel until the fight was all over and everything was done. It worked. Thank goodness.
So this is what can be expected in the retreat, you're saying?
No. Retreat's going to be a completely different thing. Retreat is no alter ego at all. It's going to be grounding, get out of ego, nothing to do with what I usually do.
Okay, so this thing with the fighter, I'm so intrigued. There's like these...
When I do it with actresses, they sometimes want the alter ego to be a character they're playing in a movie so that they can kill it when the movie's done or when they're done filming. And from what I've heard I've worked with 2 actresses that every human being over the age of 10 knows their name.
Yeah.
And she said that I don't know if this is true, but she said like every actress, like it's stressful having to be this person, filming a movie for a year and a half or however long it takes. And that little character lives in your head forever. And she was about to start a movie that was kind of a horror-ish, not horror-ish, but it's a series.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't want that living in her. She wanted to be able, like, at the end of the day, that thing has an off switch. So we create the alter ego as the character for the show. And she just walks in the morning, boom, turns it on. They film the show. She turns it back off.
What would be like a turn on, turn off technique? Like a typical, like what is something like that?
Building that switch takes about 3.5 hours by itself to
Uh-huh.
turn it on, turn it off. And we use, how to word this the right way. I use a very high stress technique that's mentally very stressful. But that helps us to build that switch and make it because, if we have an extremely stressful memory, it becomes a physiological part of our brain, not just a psychological change.
Okay.
So we're making physiological changes throughout these 4 days that it takes. So like an example would be, she reaches across and like digs a finger into her shoulder and says 2 words that no human being will ever say together, so that there's no accidental turn on.
Yep.
Activation.
And then to kill it, like for that thing to be gone forever, there's another similar potentially type of thing.
Yeah, it only actually takes about 45 minutes to kill it. But it's a one-on-one.
It's you
in person. I've never done it over Zoom just because I very much doubt the efficacy of hypnosis when it's 2-dimensional, like through electronics. Maybe it works. I've never done it.
How off, like over the course of the year, how many different slots do you have available for something like that?
I see maybe 5 clients a year.
Okay.
And it's a pretty big invoice.
Yeah, I assumed given just the
And it's
the
stressful
clientele.
for me. And
yeah, how
I hate it.
what do you do to offload that experience for yourself? Because that is a lot of energy. It's you're
It's tons.
putting someone into it seems like a ton of duress and like, so do you have to in some ways like almost disassociate while it's happening? Like how do you prepare yourself for that?
You've got to be very associated during the process, because like even while you're under hypnosis, I'm counting your breaths per minute to watch for stress markers. I'm watching tiny twitches in your fingers. I'm watching whether your eyes are moving to the right or to the left. And there's 1,000 metrics that I'm using to modify the next words that are coming out of my mouth, so that it's the most customized, tailored, and perfect hypnosis session that any human could ever have. So it's like the end of like one of those days when I'm programming a human being, but there's sweat like down to my belt.
Yeah.
It's a stressful experience for me. And at the end of those, I'll usually do a little journey.
Yeah.
Helps a lot. Methylene blue helps a lot to kind of maintain that level of focus throughout that entire day.
Yeah. I didn't get to ask, but Luke, like break down, and we've done it. Certainly we'll refer back to when Dr. John Lawrence has been on the podcast. We talked about both methylene blue and high dose melatonin, but just hear kind of like your experience and your knowledge of like, why does methylene blue work? And I've heard some people poo-poo it because it's used to clean, fish tanks, and it's this, they've had reasons that it not to use it, and I'm like,
I drink water and fish swim in it.
There you go. Okay, yeah, it seems to work, So I don't really care what it's used for otherwise, but
yeah.
Why does it work?
It works in fish tanks because it works in humans.
There we go.
Now we're done.
Yeah.
No, but this stuff was discovered in like 1890. And this guy's trying to dye blue jeans and other stuff for the industrial revolutions going on, these big textile mills making way more clothes than we're used to. So this blue dye comes out, and it's just meant to be a dye initially. And this biologist, scientist, I think, bioengineer or something, who came up with it, put it on a microscope slide and showed that it had what's called a neuronal affinity, which means that if there's a neuron or a brain cell on a microscope slide, you can watch the methylene blue soak up into neurons. And then he's like, wow, that's interesting. So he shot up a couple of rats, killed them, sliced those babies open. The entire nervous system was blue. The whole thing, every neuron, the brain, brainstem, spinal cord, all of those descending neurons going down through the body. which is just cool. That's just cool to begin with. Because like if you did an autopsy on me right now, my brain's blue. Yeah. My spinal cord's blue. All the nerves are blue. Look at my hand.
Yeah, you're on the road, so it's a little hard. I took mine this morning. I was very careful with it.
Yeah.
So I'm blue as well.
I'm in a hotel. But all right, so let's start. So methylene blue has been proven to work for 120 years. It's not some new thing. It's new on Instagram, but it's not new.
Yeah.
Proven to work. So somebody's poo-pooing something that's worked for
Wasn't
over
it used by the soldiers for anti-malarial?
Yes.
Okay.
Anti-malarial, antifungal, antibacterial. It's a miracle. But the number one thing that methylene blue is at the top level is an MAOI. So that's a monoamine oxidase inhibitor. So, which means that it has antidepressant properties. MAOIs are used to treat depression. But it also means that if I'm taking methylene blue regularly, I have to avoid stuff that's called tyramine. And this is the chemicals that you find in red wines and aged cheeses. So it could lead to something that's called a hypertensive crisis. But you don't want to high dose methylene blue and eat a bunch of old cheese. That's
okay.
Or drink a bunch of red wine. So it acts as a free radical scavenger. So neuronal affinity, free radical scavenger. And a free radical is an oxygen that doesn't have two hydrogens on it. So it's an oxygen that's not water, which means this oxygen just bouncing around your body. Sometimes it's got a bunch of hydrogen on there. Sometimes it's just got one. But balancing out these oxygen molecules means I'm taking it and I'm sticking two hydrogens on it. And then you're peeing out that free radical. So we have two main types of free radicals. We have a reactive oxygen species and a reactive nitrogen species. And methylene blue helps to balance those out so you can pee out. And free radicals are a leading cause of inflammation in the body, leading cause of sickness. So on top of that, and this is kind of I'm giving you a thumbnail of what methylene blue does.
For sure.
It collects an electron from all of these processes and donates an electron. And so it acts as what's called an electron donor to healthy mitochondria inside of your nervous system. And those electrons are what power our entire body. Like we run on electrons. And the electrons are spinning. So mitochondria use this throughout a process. And there's an engine inside of our mitochondria that's actually a rotary engine, like the old Mazda rotary engines. Yeah. It's except it's more efficient. It's like 98% efficiency of this engine. And to go even crazy, a little bit deeper, mitochondria aren't human.
I heard you say this on Danny's podcast.
Yeah, they don't have human DNA, which is super bizarre. It's like some relationship formed a long time ago for those to kind of be fused together. So it gives our cells more energy. We make this thing ATP, which is our cellular energy, adenosine triphosphate. And it essentially does all kinds of work throughout every part of your body and helps almost every process you can think of, from digestion to respiration to your focus and concentration, for depression, for your skin, how your skin looks. And if you're doing red light therapy, you know this already, but methylene blue is blue because it sucks up and absorbs red photons and it bounces back blue photons. So if you're doing red light therapy with methylene blue, you're like, I'm making this number up, but it's like 6,000x return on investment if you're getting red light into your nervous system. And a good red light therapy machine will penetrate about 4 inches into your body. And a really good one will penetrate 2.5 through your skull.
I've got to take you, next time you're in town, I got to take you to a place called Matter. It's a bio-wellness lounge that has, so it's got John's got the Mitozen helmet. Have you seen?
I own one.
Of course you do. So they got that. Well, that's not as novel anymore, but they have a great light bed and they have a bunch of like hyperbarics and other toys. You ever heard of the Theta Chamber?
I bought one of those too.
You have a fucking Theta Chamber?
It hasn't been delivered yet. It's a Theta bed.
This is a Theta Chamber that spins.
Yeah. I just bought one.
Do you have an Amortal too?
No, I've never heard of that.
Well, you'll probably get one of those now. I'll tell you what, I'll take you over there. You just go on a shopping spree and we'll have everything delivered to your place.
But I will say, man, that I think methylene blue is a trend and a fad right now. And I think that takes away from the seriousness of its benefits, because we're seeing lots of idiot dipshits using it. Like, let me make its YouTube thumbnail with a blue tongue. And
oh yeah.
So I think that takes away, somebody sees that and they're like, oh, it's a fad. It's not real.
Mm-hmm.
They're not realizing that it's been around for like 120 years. And it's maybe in the top 5 most proven drugs in human history. Pretty up there. That's along with willow bark, probably up there with willow bark, and which is aspirin.
Okay.
Aspirin is made from willow tree.
I didn't know that. Do you do the troche or the suppository?
For methylene?
Yeah.
Troche.
Yeah.
So I cut them up and I take 3. So I take about 140 milligrams a day of methylene.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
And you've seen efficacy in others in your sphere that have used it to heal.
Yeah. My family, my friends, or my across the street neighbor where I live started taking it, and now is off of like 7 different prescription medications within a week. And she has some serious conditions. Another person that I gave it to who works at our house, she has amyloidosis.
What's that?
It's a buildup of plaque in your organs and stuff. Your breathing starts going crazy down. She was breathing at 16% when she started working for us, and she's back above 85. And her doctor said he had never seen those results in 35 years of working with amyloidosis patients. And it's all it was methylene blue. And I'm not saying that I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you to take methylene blue. You need to talk to a doctor. No, absolutely not.
Okay.
But I can't give medical advice. Don't
Sure.
want to give medical advice, but I hope people look into it. I have not. You don't have to use some affiliate link or anything like that. Buy it from wherever the hell you want to buy it from. But at least look into it, because it can save somebody's life, and it can reverse a lot of damage that's going on in our bodies. It made my brain better.
That is the most fascinating thing I've heard. And like, with regards to that, where is your kind of need to write? Where does that sit right now?
It's not really there.
How does that feel?
For anyone out there with temporal lobe epilepsy, it'll be slightly offensive for me to say what I'm about to say. I miss parts of having TLE.
Uh-huh.
I miss pieces of it. And they call temporal lobe epilepsy the sacred disease for very good reason. Like ancient mystics and stuff would think that they were getting these visions, and who knows what it is. But I lost that need to write. And sometimes I miss those seizures because it felt like I was getting access to it may just all be in my head, but it felt like I was kind of getting access to some layer of reality that other people can't access.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you miss because I'm imagining, I've never had it obviously, but I have been inspired to write or do whatever it is. And so like the energetics of that, I know when I'm in that space and in that, I'd say flow, does it feel like a complete flow state when you're writing, or is it different? Is it more like, fuck, I want to stop, but what is it like a flow state?
Yeah, I feel like a normal person would respond to having to sit down and write. And I write every day from 4 a.m. to 11 a.m. without fail. And that's 7 days a week. So I'm still there writing. So I think there's still a lot of that hypergraphia.
Oh
I still like writing a lot.
I'll say. So what's top of mind for you lately? What are you interested in?
I'm writing a book right now called Exit, A User's Guide to the Simulation. And the whole thing is about there's 3 ways to hack a video game. So I talked, man, this is going to sound like we're going off the deep end.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Let's do it.
This is the goods.
So I hired, have you heard of IOI? They make video games. It's a big video game company. I talked to one of these designers that designs video games, and I talked about like, there's people on YouTube that just make videos on how to like, so let's say this neighborhood is a video game where we're at right now, but the map of this game ends at that house over there.
Okay.
Like once you get to the backyard, your character's just like running on the wall, right?
Yeah.
I want to go over that wall in video games. And these people on YouTube dedicated for all kinds of games, how to get out, how to hack your way out of the map so you can go explore this out of bounds area where you're not supposed to go. And I don't know why, but I got obsessed with watching these videos. My son and I play this game called Hitman. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
I'm not familiar with it.
Oh my God, it's cool.
Yeah.
There's like 16 million ways to kill this target as a hitman in the video game. And you can't, none of them are ever the same. We'll get into it. But so they make these compilations online of like these different ways that people are getting out of the game. So there's these different levels of, number one, can I look deeply into the area where I'm not supposed to be? Number one. Number two, can I exit the playable area? Level 3, can I exit the map entirely? Like, can I just fall through the floor? Which you can in a lot of these video games. You find the right combination of whatever, and you can drop through, and you kind of look up and you can see the entire map from underneath, like the skeletons of all the buildings and the streets and whatever you were walking on, and you're just falling eternally. The game never kills you. You're eternally falling in this blackness, watching that little 3D city just disappear above you. So that's level 3. Level 4 could be, can I get out of this game? So if I'm in Hitman, can I make my little Hitman guy jump out of that game and crawl into the Call of Duty world and play Call of Duty? And level 5 is, can I exit the console? You know what I'm saying? So according to Chase Hughes anyway, those are the 5 levels of exiting that you can do in a video game. So I tried to find all of the corollaries that were possible. And the mental exit is like the first real step, like being aware of all of the boundaries of this little video game and being aware what is fake and what's real. And that's step 1. Like that wall is fake. I can walk through it in a video game. But in reality, I'm starting to realize what parts are actually simulated. And it's not some digital simulation. There's this French philosopher who wrote a book called Simulacra and Simulation. His name is Jean Baudrillard. And he's talking about Walmart is a simulation of a market that our ancestors would use. It's pretend. Their pictures on the packaging are a simulation of what's inside, and we know that it doesn't represent reality. We go to Burger King and we see a burger on the menu. We know that's a simulated burger that's not going to represent reality. And then you get to hyper reality, where you go to like a place like Disney World, where there are people simulating a simulation of a Disney character that is simulating something that has no original. So it's a simulation of a simulation of a simulation where there is no original that it's pointing backward to.
Okay.
And the entirety of Disney World is a simulation of cities, but it's made to be better than reality. So it's full of simulations. Some are simulacra, which have no origin. Like I'm pointing to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And some are simulation, which is like this street looks like Germany, except it's better. Okay. And now they call that hyper reality. And we're not even talking about digital yet. We're already in a simulation. So much of our lives are simulated. It's a thing that points at a thing that points at a thing. And we can go into that for hours, but that's a lot of what the book is about, like becoming hyper aware of how to locate reality when everything is starting to become more and more artificial and fake.
How long have you been working on this?
2 years.
Where do you feel like you are in the completion?
It's done.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting on editors to kind of finish up now. And it's short. It's a short book. It's maybe a 3-4 hour read.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. Which is unlike me. You've seen like some of the books I've written.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really happy about it. And that's what we're naming the retreat after. And this is going to be the exit retreat and the exit book kind of go hand in hand. And the only way to get a copy of the book is to attend one of the retreats.
Oh, no shit.
It's like a secret guide. Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I like it.
By the way, I love that you didn't realize how this isn't necessarily close to where you were staying. And you're like, I'm going to get a driver or whatever. It's like, where are you staying? I was 20 minutes away, and it gave us an opportunity to drop in on the car ride.
Yeah.
So I love that. And we did cover a decent amount in the car ride.
I will leave you 5 stars, by the way. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I was a little bit late, but there was traffic. I did the best I could. I, broke a few traffic laws. But one of the things that we talked about that is really has come up for me recently, and I think will land with a lot of people, is this idea of, we can call it cognitive dissonance, but I had kind of shared a meme about USAID on how there's a ton of corruption. There's the Dr. Evil one, and it was basically like, we're gonna like piss away all this money. We'll call it foreign aid. And I had a friend that I used to work with who, unbeknownst to me, actually works for the organization. And and so he's doing great work with them, and I don't doubt that. Like going to these villages and treating babies with HIV, and I could argue like, well, where do we think they got the HIV from? But that's whatever, here nor there. And he was really upset with that because of the work that he's doing. And in part of my response, in not only acknowledging the amazing work he's doing, was like, I would have hoped that you would want to root out any corruption that is within that organization, because it's a bad look for the amazing work that is being done in some areas.
And shouldn't that be universal?
You would hope.
And so if I could go ahead, if a person's listening right now, you're upset about the election or you love the election, either one. If you're unable to find good in something that's in a political opponent, or if you're unable to see something bad in a politician that you support, something's wrong. Something has occurred in your brain where there's been a transition, and it's okay to admit it. I'm an expert in this stuff, and I'm just as susceptible to anybody. Like, me learning about it does not vaccinate me from. I don't have some immunity to it. So we all have to admit that we're capable of being manipulated, and it harkens back to this book. The book is called "When Prophecy Fails." The author's name is escaping me right now, but it's a psychologist who studied this cult, and the cult was wild, crazy cult. But they said on this exact day, the earth is going to explode or end, and aliens are coming, and aliens are going to like destroy the world and all this crazy stuff. And the cult had a lot of followers, hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands. And this day comes. The day finally comes that the aliens are going to show up and destroy the world. No aliens. The world doesn't blow up. Nothing happens. So we would think like, oh, the cult's, half of the members are going to say, F you, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. This is stupid. The cult leader is going to feel like an idiot. All these things that we imagine might happen in a situation like this. And in reality, all of them doubled down. They doubled down on their beliefs. because they were entrenched in who they were as human beings. They had adopted a belief not from an idea, but an identity. So if you're ever watching the news, always pay attention to, am I being sold on identity or ideas? Those are the two different pathways to convey information. So like, I know that you're a good person, so you're going to probably believe what I'm about to say. That's an exaggerated way of talking about it, but that's what selling you on identity is. Because of who you are. So they doubled down, and they even went so far as to say the earth didn't explode and the aliens didn't show up because we prayed so hard. It's because of our faith, and it's because of our integrity. You're welcome, planet. So
just like those hermits in that cave holding it down.
Yeah. That's some commitment, serious commitment.
Yeah.
But I would say being in a cult is not always bad. Some cults are good. One of them, I was a part of a cult one time called the United States Military, where I go through an indoctrination program where they shave your head and kind of you go through full indoctrination. And you're all about it. When you graduate boot camp, you're like, I am it. I am a U.S. Navy sailor now. I'm part of the Navy. And that's kind of a cult. Some cults are good. Mm-hmm. Some cults instill values and morals. But some of them, you can accidentally join a cult without really knowing it. And it's not a cult that's an organization with a real leader. It's a cult of identity. And if I've made so many agreements that I support this person, now I support this side. So it goes from like, I like this idea, I like this person, now I'm adopting this belief. And now me having this belief makes me a certain type of person. So now it's about identity. I am morally superior. I'm intellectually superior because I have these ideas. That's dangerous. That's very, very dangerous. And the greatest, and this is coming from the guy who teaches psyops and brainwashing and stuff. The greatest deception in modern history is convincing people that issues are about left or right, or conservative versus liberal, or Democrat versus Republican. It's not. We just let's use this example of USAID. I got called onto the news 2 days ago to comment on the stuff that's going on. Like, what's the behavior behind all of this? And they're raiding this USAID building, and these mostly Democratic Congress people are out there screaming and yelling and protesting and saying they're destroying the country and all this stuff. They're asking me to comment on this. And they're like, because it's a narrative based media, right?
Yep.
So they have a narrative, and they're asking me to go down that narrative. And it's a left versus right narrative, which doesn't exist. It does not exist. I promise you, it does not exist. And the more you learn about psychology, brainwashing, and behavior, the more you realize that is an illusion. It's an illusion. So what I said to this news anchor was that you're focusing all these people that are screaming and loud and protesting. And that's great, because when corruption is being pointed out and people are screaming about it, that might be where you need to focus some attention. Maybe they're upset about these babies that are saved. I'm sure there's some programs that got cut that were beneficial, positive. But you have to be able to see that from both sides. There's good and there's bad. If you can't see good and bad, something is wrong. So that needs to set off a huge alarm in your head. But they focus on all these people screaming and throwing fits and stuff. But what about on the other side of the aisle? You need to focus on the people that are very quiet. That all of a sudden something changed and they just got very, very quiet. And that's the truth. So this is true. But where's the truth? So there's two things that are true, right? Can I see good? Can I see bad? And do I realize that the greatest deception that I will never fall for again, we'll make that agreement, I will never fall for this again in believing that everything is about right versus left. There's good in both. There's bad in both. And if you can't see it, something is wrong.
We're at time, brother.
All right.
And that's a perfect ending. All right. Where can people find you?
Type me into Google, or NCI is the system that I teach, Neuro-Cognitive Intelligence.
Okay.
NCI.university. And
your YouTube's linked to that, or like, you
YouTube's
get a
all
big
going to be
YouTube
there.
following. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got a huge YouTube following, and I've got a YouTube channel of my own that helps to expose psyops and shows you how to do a lot of these techniques, one step by step. And I've even got some stuff there to help you start unzipping that little ego costume.
Hell yeah. Save me a spot in that Austin retreat.
Will do, man.
I'm so in. Dude, this has been epic.
It's fun.
You're rad, man. So fun. Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait to see you again, do another one, and just, get to know you better. So thanks, brother.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, hell yeah.